Hey everybody, welcome back to another Stone Face Reactions. I'm Griffin, that's Theta, and we have something special here today. We're actually going to use our brains and read, but not too hard. We're reading a manga. And that is The Witch from Mercury, Vanadis Heart manga, which has recently come out, and we have a translation here.
Well, it's the prologue, by the way. The prologue to the manga.
Prologue to the actual story, which maybe we'll be reading more of later. But we're starved for Witch from Mercury content. We need more. Only 2.5 more years, Theta.
2.5 more.
Only 2.5 more years.
Talking about that's Made in Abyss. You're using the Made in Abyss joke.
I'm making the Rick and Morty joke, but no, same difference.
I mean, literally next week we start recording.
We got some time. We want to get more content in, so we're taking a look at this, and we're going to go over it a little bit page by page, but we've read beforehand, and we're going to go ahead and give our thoughts.
One of us read 5 minutes ago. The other one of us has been reading all week. But not 5 minutes ago, so literally, your thoughts are fresher. At least you got that.
Yeah, that's true. I'm right off the top of my head here. So I think going into this, Theta, is there any extra information that we should know about or that you want to cover here?
No, since we're gonna go, page by page, story beat sort of thing. That's bet it.
So then, before we get started, of course, as always, hit that like button, subscribe button, and comment down below to feed that algorithm. Top of all that, if you watch more shows like this, unfiltered, uncensored, and uncut, as well as some early access stuff, you check it out over on the Patreon. It's just $5 a month, but no pressure. It's all support channel, just a little bit extra. Up first page is, remember to support your local translators, you know. Oh wait, wrong first page, right?
No, I'm starting from page 1, which is the very first scene that we got from the anime Prologue, which is Prospera trying to reach Layer 33 and getting no callback. The interesting thing I got from this page is that I don't remember if it's the same wording as from the show, but in this, Prospera says the word thrall when trying to communicate with the Gundam, since thrall has a very specific meaning as a word, the state of being in someone's power or having great power over someone.
Given that they're starting a machine that they're controlling, I know that checks out.
No. What does she say? What context does she use the word thrall in?
Thrall to LF03 restarting the link.
Right, she's calling herself the thrall. LF03 is the thing that we know to become Ariel later on. So, thrall to Ariel.
Of course, this does have some context with what we saw in the Witch from Mercury prologue, which was like, yes, you know, machines shouldn't kill people, so like here's the machine controlling the person. Is that true?
Well, we know Ariel, in the future at least, to be sentient. Like I said, there's some real connotations using that very specific word.
And of course, this is called back to the prologue, and I think there's even more of that as we keep reading.
You have any other thoughts about page 1?
I don't think so, other than that I do like the individual shadow in the helmet kind of like imagery.
Yeah.
I think that's a neat little touch.
Yeah, we got that in the anime as well, so it was a good manga version of the animator's touch. Alright, from there we go on to pages 2 through 5, which tells their own little thing, banking them up together like that.
Hey Theta, what's the thesis? Do we know what the thesis is?
Well,
this is the start of the book telling us what the thesis is.
Well, it starts a multi-page spread showing the advancements of mankind to reach the, and I realize in my notes here I've written stays instead of stars, reach the stays, showing kids chasing very early models of aircraft while tossing paper airplanes, while the text boxes are also narrating in a first person, asking how far they should go to see what comes next. Page 4 continues the narrative with more advanced fighter planes and even an astronaut as the narration continues, focusing on how the human race is always pushed forwards into the unknown. The third panel on this page seems like it's equating the tarnished milestones of the past, the ruins of a war zone. Did you get that read?
Yeah, definitely. It's like, oh yeah, you know, I'm sure it costs something, but we'll just kind of keep moving on.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that's what I was seeing. I didn't know if that was that or just Real Dirty City.
I would like to, of course, stop and say, like, page 4 here, absolutely not what I was expecting coming into this. Like, these are just some fun panels here, just entirely on their own.
Get the real shorthand telling the story of mankind through technological advancement.
Just one step ahead.
Speaking of which, the very next panel after the destroyed city seems to be mankind's first step on the moon. I assume that's what that is. I don't think there's going to be any argument.
Right, that's the connotation here. We're moving forward, and the next thing forward is, of course, like, oh yeah, the moon.
And the very next page is a rocket launch from Earth, saying that we will need stronger limbs and organs in order to push forwards. Of course, I've shorthanded myself here to say organs, but we'll know by the end of this that what it means by heart is a completely different thing.
Let's see. But they do end off on, like, an interesting note of, like, hey, you know, we got everything from Earth, but now we're going to replace literally everything.
Well, for the sake of advancement, yeah. Alright, well, moving on to page 6. We get the first signs of what seems like a space elevator, apparently in the same field as the kids that were chasing the antique airplane. You can see them there.
Planes still exists today.
Yeah, because the sky is filled with their own paper airplanes, as we saw from before. The rest of the page is dedicated towards the evolution of mankind, towards cybernetics, showing the enhancement of arms, legs, and, I guess, metaphorically, the heart there.
I'm trying to remember what the Sistine Chapel ceiling painting was called.
Brain. It's supposed to be a dissected brain.
No, I mean, I'm talking specifically the panel that has, like, our arms where, like, the two fingers are touching, and that's Michelangelo's piece of work there, where you have, like, Adam reaching out to God, and God's up on his cloud, and they both, like, reach out and touch.
No, that's what I'm talking about. Where they're sitting on? I think where God is specifically, it's supposed to be the cross-section of a brain.
But what's the painting? What's the actual entire art?
I know what you're talking about. I don't remember the name of it offhand.
Welcome to Stone-Faced Reactions. We're terribly uncultured here.
Well, literally, you have all the opportunity to look it up. I've already told you that all of my windows are filled with this breakdown of the manga. Literally, I think in my meandering here, I've given you enough time, in fact. And the fact that I can't see you, I have no idea if you're actually doing it or just smugly looking at me right now.
No, I'm looking at it. Alright, it is the creation of Adam, or is that just what it's referenced? Hard for me to say. I'd have to do some more reading.
Alright, well, was there a point you were trying to reach, or?
No, I'm just saying, like, using that as a reference obviously is trying to say something.
Okay.
Which, I mean, like, the very context here is, like, we keep moving forward, we're playing God, we're replacing literally all of our pieces.
Oh, you mean the second panel on the page. Okay. Since I ended with the heart thing, that's what I thought you were going with. That's why I kept cutting back to Michelangelo's study of cadavers and how he tried to put in a cross-section of an actual organ into his actual artwork.
But moving on to the next page, we're getting more and more of our context of, like, what's happening in the series, which we've gone over in the series itself. They keep making more cybernetics and explains this is what Gund is. To survive in the harsh conditions of space, we developed these augmentations. We understand them.
Right, and it's also telling us that the military has adapted the technology for their own use.
I do love the body study image here, the second one where we're, like, seeing the spine and all the various things underneath the skin here. And the surface level has that, like, plastic skin feeling where, you know, we have all these sharp edges.
I
think it does a really good job of portraying what it's supposed to here, which is an augmented individual.
Yeah, I mean, they're all scenes that we saw in the Prologue anime. You don't have to pause in order to be able to see the details on this one. Well, moving on to the next page.
Nice big old image of the space elevator here. Very lovely.
Yep, return to the space elevator, the base of it anyway. The narrator that's talking to us through these speech bubbles refers to the Earth as a broken cradle and talking about the generations ahead that would have to reach towards space, that the Gund should have been a blessing for everyone.
This is the point where we've ended our first paragraph in a literary term, right? This should be the point where it's like we've talked about how we're moving forward, we're always advancing, you know, bad things happen, we keep going, the cradle's broken, but we're adults now, we can make a new thing, we got everything we could have out of this, and cue next scene, which is going to be where everything starts going down.
Well, this is also the unnamed or unfaced narrator that we've yet to meet yet, because I don't believe this is fourth wall authorial text. I believe this is a person from the story.
Right. I know what you're talking about, and we get to that basically at the very end.
But we come to page 9, which I believe is the most important page of the entire manga.
Ass 101.
That's actually it. That's the most important thing from this entire thing. Hold on, I'm gonna send you something so you can reference this with me.
Do love the perspective shot here of our spaceship. That actually strikes me very much like the old school Gundam space, which are their battleships, right?
But yeah, no, this is otherwise beyond the date. Everything else was stuff we've seen from the prologue. There has been some debate, apparently, in the community about when the Vanadis incident actually happened, and this one is actually telling us that it happened in Ad Stella 101. Now, for the breakdown, the debate about if Aerie is Suletta. Now, we have a date.
Conclusions here. Go on.
We have a date for the Vanadis incident, 101 at Stella, which means, since we know Aerie is just turning 4 during the prologue, that she must have been born in 97 AS. Due to, Cradle Planet, that's what it was called, right? The short story? Now, the Cradle Planet doesn't give us dates, but it tells us how old it tells us how old Suletta is when specific things happen to her. Like the, move forward, gain 2, run, gain 1 thing. When she's getting injection happens when she's 5 years old. If she's born in 97, that happens in 102. The start of Witch from Mercury is 122 at Stella. That's when Suletta goes to school. So we take all of these dates, right? Suletta on Mercury playing games with Ariel. We know that happens at 6 years old. Suletta masters these games at 8 years old. Mercury Elders are mean to Suletta when she's 9. Suletta saves the Mercury and Elder at 11. Yada yada yada. Mom comes to Suletta after talking to Ariel about Astasia, the academy she goes to in 122. Her mother comes to her when she's 16, which would be 113 at Stella. Suletta arrives at the school for the very first time going to school in 122 at Stella. She would be 25 years old.
Right, and there's like specifically even like in a how many year 11-year gap here, a 9-year gap.
Well,
like that seems like a lot.
Well, remember, Murane is 17, and they're supposed to be about the same age, we suspect. These numbers are if Aerie is Suletta. What happens if Suletta is a different person than Aerie? Well, we just take the same numbers and we go backwards. Imagine that Suletta's mom, Prospera, talks to Suletta about going to Astasia a year before. So, 121 at Stella. Alright, that was when she's 16. She saves a Mercury and Elder when she's 11. That turns into 116 at Stella. Let's see. She gets the injection when she's 5. That goes back to 110 at Stella. Suletta would have been born 105 at Stella, 4 years after the Vanadis incident.
Right, and that timeline like makes a lot more sense than like Suletta, a 25-year-old pretending to do a how do you do fellow kids with everyone at school.
So yeah, this is my cork board full of strings and pages and shit. Look at it! Look at it! The evidence!
Right, and of course, like, my thesis from all this is going to be, like, this is definitely the book that's supposed to go ahead and make that very obvious and just put it straight into the text and, like, put all the corkboard to rest. I think that's exactly what this is supposed to exist for.
Well, I don't know if it's supposed to make it obvious, because these are all segments from different media, right? You have to read the manga to get the verification of when the Vanadis incident happened. You had to read the short story, Cradle Planet, to be able to get the ages of Suletta at various times. You have to watch the show to know when Witch from Mercury starts. So you have to combine a bunch of media together, which may or may not be obvious to your casual reader.
How long until we have to play, like, the business management mini-game, where we have to get the full backstory of the Earth House president?
Well, according to you, we don't have to, because you think he's dead. Anyway.
But we'll have to understand his backstory as the consequences of death ripple throughout the school.
I mean, we haven't even determined he's a popular character yet, so... I mean, I'm pretty sure you don't even know his name.
Sure I do.
Starts with an M. Ah, you're so close. Let's see. 6 letters. Last name starts with a U.
Marcus.
Nope. The first 3 letters are right.
Martin.
That's the first name.
Martin Yu.
Upmount. His last name is Upmount. The guessing game is not as easy on the last names. This is with
Yeah,
first names.
no, that's way harder. But going ahead and talking about the page, now we got the conspiracy board out of the way. We'll go ahead and put that back into storage here for a bit. This is the Ulysses, and it is now docking with, I assume, the Vanadis, as we have already seen before.
No. Ulysses never docks with the Vanadis Institute.
They are still ready to commence at any time.
Yeah, if you don't remember, the Ulysses sends a shuttle to the Vanadis Institute, and the shuttle board, that's part of this. We can get to that when we get there. Literally, we haven't even seen the shuttle yet in the manga.
So of course we go to the next page, where of course we see our favorite motivational character demanding that you immediately rate it.
Delling here. Just a bit of the conversation that we got before, and then, oh shit, now I'm bad with names. I got him. God, he is the guy's father. Help me out here, Griff.
He is the father. Gosh, names. I'm terrible.
We have Delling Rembrandt. God damn it, this is the one thing I should have done before we got here.
Your notes, this has failed you.
Well, it's really hard to go from I know this background character's name to
Zanelli?
I can't remember this main character's name.
Or it's not Jet Turk. I believe it is Zanelli. It's the other one.
No, it's definitely not Jet Turk. Yeah, it's the old man. Sarius Zanelli, yeah. Giving the speech to the news. I think that continues on page 11.
Right, and this basically covers exactly what we saw previously, which is just the speech saying, we've developed Mobile Suit Council, we're shutting this all down. And at the time, he has no idea that the raids are going to happen, I believe.
No, a aide, if you remember from the anime, an aide walks up and whispers into his ear what's going on, which is when he gets a shocked look on his face, because he didn't condone it at all. In fact, not here in the manga, but in the anime, there's a previous scene where he considers it an overreach of business practice to do a military action.
But yet, there they are, and that sets the stage for exactly how things are going to be going from here on out. With page 12, it's now under business administrative laws, and business administrative laws now mean that they can do raids whenever they want.
Well, it's more about the establishment of Cathedra, which
right,
is...
it's the reality he didn't realize was about to happen.
Also on the same page is where we first mentioned of the shuttle, right? Transport ship with Cardo saying not to let it on board because she clearly knows what's about to happen.
Right, she immediately goes wait a second. We get a nice quiet panel on 13, or a nice quiet page, where we just see the shuttle, everyone reacting to it, doors opening, and of course, immediate blood splatter, page 14.
Yeah, I think that's the more hitting thing from the manga, since it's not a temporal thing, right? Mm-hmm. There's not a ticking counter on the bottom of how long this is going to be on the page. The dead people floating in space with their blood just splattering stays there, and you can just absorb it.
Yeah, it's, you don't have to worry about how long the scene's gotta linger, or how you're gonna time it out. You can just go, it's this is the full horror, take as long as you need to soak it in. Enjoy all that lovely shading on the blood right there.
Well, again, from the first panel down to the last panel, it doesn't take much to imagine that the blood is just floating in gobulets, whatever you call it. Whenever they hit something, they turn into the first panel.
Of course, good representation of Zero G2 with the blood accumulating into little spheres. Always a good time. Then we're back to the politics of talking, where we are introducing the supervisor of Cathedra. And then we go back to the narrator. So what is the narrator saying here? To do growth in all things, ask how much the price need to pay to take a new step, new limbs. The answer would be, and then they don't answer it until several pages later.
And also we have the very first panel on page 15. If you see the guy in the very middle on the table in the back, I believe that is Jeturk's father.
Oh wow, I could zoom in real far. Oh, that is...
Yeah, because if you remember from the anime, he is a longer-haired, white-haired old man that basically he had to take... When I say Jeturk's father, I mean Elder Jeturk. Got everyone's names for some reason. I think it's because it's been so long since we've done anything. All I can remember, basically, are the people I've chastised you for forgetting. And clearly...
Hey, see, there's a reason for me to forget, so that you remember.
Yeah, and clearly you never forgot the main character's name, so it just never... Vim's dad. because in the span of the prologue to the main show is when Vim took over the company from his father. I just thought that was interesting to point out because I don't know who the other two guys are. But
go ahead, sorry.
I was just saying, we've gotten a hint of what his dad looked like.
On 16 here, of course, we go right back to the action, where, of course, everyone is realizing what's happened, they're all panicking, shouting, and, of course, we have, like, the action lines as everyone's storming in.
Well, we also get a new piece of information. We get the Oxearth rep or the CEO. We don't know who they are, and it's never been told to us what their position in the company was. Yeah. I would assume rep, but for safety's sake, could be the CEO, and their name is Yamaoka. He doesn't say the name. That's obviously Sula's dad. He doesn't say the name in the anime, so we've never heard that before. So this is our first time hearing that guy's name is Yamaoka. Sense which Mercury might be going back to Earth at some point. There's entirely a possibility that we're back at Earth in Season 2. That might be a guy who survived, and we might meet.
I was about to joke, I was like, yeah, we got his name, and now he's dead. But, I mean, you bring up a good point.
Well, yeah, because he says that they're attacking us, not just financially, but with violence. It's entirely possible he's part of the resistance that we met in the last 3 episodes of the anime.
Right, I'm expecting that to be, like, expanded upon, like, when we get to that scene. That'll be good.
I mean, I would be personally happy if he showed back up, just because he's someone we've seen before. Now we've got additional information. Don't even have to see him. Just have a character say that name somewhere in the background while we're on Earth.
Meanwhile, next page, 17, we get our first look at some mechs where everyone is getting ready to launch, and we have, like, some nice little action lines of them all going out to an encounter. And then back over to our other characters, 18 and 19.
Wait. Before we get to 18 and 19, I think page 17 also gives us the explicit statement that we are from the perspective of the Dominicus unit from here, contrary to the Prologue anime, which was primarily the Vanadis Institute perspective. Every time we see something here, it tends to be, except for obviously the Carter Rimbaud thing that we got before, and the one shot of the shuttle docking, is entirely from the Dominicus side. The manga pages 10 through 45 are essentially, let's see how it happened from the other side, albeit it doesn't paint them any better. It's just interesting.
It gives us something fresh to look at instead of just going, oh, this is just a prologue again. I've seen that.
Well, I bring it up specifically because page 17, in the Prologue anime, they're just fucking attacking us. What the hell's going on? Here they're saying, lock down the system, make sure nobody escapes. We know literally step by step what they're doing. They just shot out a couple of units into space and started shooting at us.
Over on the next page, of course, we have our father who is now getting into the Gundam. He's gonna launch. And this is just pure panic right here in like all of the text. Everyone is trying to struggle to figure out what's going on. I think it does a good job of getting across like that sort of the level of craziness of things that are going on, despite not a lot of action like visible here, right? People are still doing their jobs, they're just very worried.
I thought this spread was particularly funny, because it features the only time in the entire manga that I recall this thing happening, which is where beneath a text bubble, they put a small image of the person talking.
Right, because you want to make sure it's clear who is saying this and what's happening.
Right, it just doesn't happen anywhere else in the manga that I remember, and it's very much a comic book thing.
My favorite line, of course, here is surrendering is no guarantee of survival. They immediately know how desperate things are going to be in just 5 seconds.
Right, it also explains why they took such drastic measures in the anime, because I don't remember them saying that in the anime. So it's further backstory into why they went right out to fight. Sorry, one last thing about the little head thing. Again, sure. It's so striking to me because it's so
cute,
comically cartoonish versus everything else, which is super detailed.
You said you had one more last thing to say about it, or
that I just did.
Oh, okay. I feel like you just called it.
No, I told you that it was comically and cartoonishly drawn, while the rest of the manga around it is super detailed. That is a new facet of information that I've put out there.
So page 20, we get to the actual launch, where we have a couple of panels to explain like where it is, where it's going. It has like this long tunnel, and we get, of course, action pose, which is amazing. I dig this pose. It shows off the entire suit very well, and of course, shows us what power level they're operating on, right? I think they get up to 3, and then they just kind of explode afterwards, if I remember the original prologue.
Well,
the father is not very high scored.
Well, we've only ever seen one person go to 4, and that was 11, 12.
Right,
It also shows us the other side of them launching, because in the anime we only ever see them drop down, and here we see them on the bottom, dropping in.
I'm just looking at, like, some of the detailing in, like, that first panel there. I'm just like, somebody is referencing, like, the actual model that they've made.
Well, if you remember, the anime has 4 different mecha artists, because each of them draws a specific different style of mecha. They made one different style for each of the main companies, and that includes Ox Earth, which the Gundams are of.
But it's definitely very classic Gundam hero shape and distinguishment. I was thinking about this last night while reading, which is that, like, Gundam has, like, a lot of iconography for, like, who are their villains and who are their heroes, and specifically the way that this is designed, this is the hero mech, which just kind of goes across all Ox Earth at this point.
Let's say I don't think that applies so much anymore, at least not for season 1.
Right.
Because again,
it's kind of more of a generality. I'm abstractly.
Right. Well, I was more pointing towards the fact that despite our heroine fighting specific, obviously, enemy mechs, those enemy mechs also represent the styling, due to, again, the artist thing I just talked about, of an entire corporate brand of mechs. So we might see further instances of those mechs showing up that are not enemy, while at the same time still having that iconography that you were talking about.
This battle is brought to you by Audible.com.
Don't do that, I take that.
Over on our next page, of course, we have, like, a good little eye shine there, where everyone is noticing the suit out there and are ready to take it down because they immediately identify this is a threat. They gotta kill it. They're fine with it. The battle is just starting here. Not a lot to say. There's gonna be a lot of action sequences, and other than, like, it's very pretty and cool, it's hard to get a lot of extra commentary in here, right?
Yeah, a lot of 10 through 45 is just a rehash of the prologue, drawn in a very... It's drawn! I guess that's the main difference. So you have a chance to actually take in the elements of, like, Gundam designs we were just talking about in the previous one, or what specific people are doing when, instead of having to pause through an animated scene.
22, 23, and 24 are when our father is activating his perma score 3 because we see the missiles, they're setting them up, they're firing, he's panicking, he increases it just to try to dodge them, and everyone is immediately going, wait a second, this guy is already beyond anything that we could have ever thought to have seen.
No, you've got that backwards.
He dodged it.
No.
Impossible.
He's launching the missiles. They're dodging his missiles. That's why you see on page 24, you see on the first panel on 24, the waves of bullets as they're trying to shoot down the missiles.
Yes. Good point. So
I can see what you're saying, that he dodged it line makes it very, very confusing. But at the same time, we saw this animated. We know that he's the one piloting the thing with the X shit coming out of his back, launching, like, those little, what do you call them, Mega Man thing, where they clamp onto you when they blow up.
Gosh, I wish I played more Mega Man.
Well, anyway,
that one.
That's what he's doing, is he's rocket versions of those.
25, we already see, like, the, do they have a term for what's happening to you when you start increasing your permit score and you start dying, or is that just, like, the thing that happens and nobody says a word for it?
I mean, we know it's taking a higher toll. We don't know it's taking a higher toll in his body. This is uncolored, but we know he would be glowing red, which has to be a thing because we know that Aerie glows blue, not red.
Right.
So
he's getting the suck. He's already exhausted, and everyone is looking at him and going, "Wait a second, no, don't 1v1 this guy. Do not."
Elin glows red or blue. Which one? Red, right?
Red.
Okay.
Red, yeah.
So
he doesn't have a good connection.
And I mean that's also shown by the he does that all throughout the when he has a voice as well. So
26 is a bunch of action nonsense, honestly. Just like, here's the scope of the entire battle. 1 versus like 20, and everything is exploding.
Action nonsense.
I mean, how else would you describe this? There's a lot of stuff going on, but we don't have like a moment-to-moment idea of what's happening. The fight is continuing here.
Well, I mean, how would you describe it? There's a lot of action going on. You decided to throw out the word nonsense. Also, you can tell what's going on. Do you see that explosion at the very top on page 26? Go back to page 25, and you have orientation, because there's the explosion. So now we
there's
know
two
where
more
the...
right there as well, and then 17 more on the next panel.
You have to be able to tell what the transitive property of panel movement is.
All I'm saying is that, in terms of action readability, sometimes the comic format is difficult. It still looks really good though. But let's see, it's into 27, which is a far more readable person just at a podium monologuing for a bit.
Well, also, scenes of people fighting and dying. Specifically, we see Cardo and her crew falling back into the chamber, which will be, assumedly, where she dies. That's the very last panel on the bottom left, because you can see Cardo in a doorway as the guy is clearly shooting down a hallway.
Right, yeah, they're on their final defensive there already. Meanwhile, Delling is giving us the villain speech essentially, where he's talking about what he feels about weapons, why he's doing this, and that he is going to basically stop the entire gun program because of this philosophy specifically.
Well, I mean, just one moment on the Delling philosophy. One, I guess we don't even know if it's actually Delling's philosophy since he's giving a speech for a company. So, but take away the human aspect of this. Imagine if the Gundams were AI piloted. Do you not think he has a point?
I think when we were originally watching it, we both went, that dude's got a point. That's not really a great look or a great thing to be happy.
I'm going to retract your statement. Maybe you thought he had a point. I didn't.
Admitting that there's some good points to someone's argument doesn't mean you gotta agree. That's all I'm going to say.
No, I didn't agree. I did not agree with his statement at all. I'm only taking a step back now, after reading the manga, to say, if it was a bunch of AI weapons killing people indiscriminately, then he might have a point.
And we technically at this point have enough evidence to question, are the Gundams actually just AI killing people?
Not where I thought you were going to go. The evidence, I believe, would be, what was it, episode 4 or 6? Which episode was Ghoul's Pride?
3 or 4?
Well, I said 4, so I'll just double up and say 4 again. The episode where his father gives him a upgraded Delanza that has AI controls, and literally Ghoul takes his hands off the controls, and they're still moving without him. The fight is still happening without anything, showing that a fully AI-controlled Gundam does exist.
Probably in contravention of everything else.
Sorry, not a Gundam. It's a mobile suit. Doesn't fit any of our Gundam definitions for this series. It's just a mobile suit that's AI driven. The example against what Delling here is propagating.
And on the next page, he concludes his thought where it's just the Gundams kill their operators too. This is bad.
Also more narrator.
And he's got a point. Narrator, meanwhile, just be we're still learning and figuring it out, which is a fun contrast between the two. It's we're just figuring it out. It's but you're killing people.
Well, in the statement, see, it's hard because there's things that were not being shown in the manga that make the statement harder to parse. In the anime prologue, while Delling is giving the speech, there's also a pan over to what looks to be a hospital filled with people laid across beds, right? Who are clearly suffering because they've got the lines on them. So his statements given in the anime hold more weight because we're shown visual evidence of the problem. The narrator here can also read without that, just as a child learns to walk by stumbling and falling. Had these people not attacked, we would have gotten there with a scraped knee, not a bunch of dead people in hospital beds. Like I said, it reads differently without that over top of it.
And then, of course, 29, we have Delling going, "This is a curse." Which is exactly the perspective. It tells me, he's not just giving a speech for a company. He believes this. This expression is, this man feels very strongly about this. This is his philosophy.
Well, again, it also reads like a, what do you call it, an alarm ringer, right? Somebody can see the writing on the wall that, man, if I don't stop these AIs from taking over the weapons, they're gonna kill us all.
Yo.
I mean, it's not what he's implicitly saying, because, it's implicitly not what he's saying. The punishment for taking a life should be imposed upon us by humans and not machines. In that line, it is, but there's other lines of text that he's given about, the folly of man doing this to other men, that sort of thing. It doesn't read the same way. But of course, we also get more narration from our yet-to-be-ascertained narrator.
Right, where, as you were saying, like, you were expecting a scraped knee, this is our rite of passage for us to obtain new limbs and move forward.
Well, also, if you think about it, they're talking of still doing the Carter-Nabo thing of we have to replace body parts to reach space. Their narration still fits the previous, hey, look, it's a rocket taking off, and we're putting it on top of this fight scene.
And 30 to 31, exactly the line you said a little bit ago, the scraped knee line, and the pains in mind as you walk forward. Meanwhile, Delling is going more and more into his philosophy, where it's just like, alright, war is bad, we should only be doing this against each other, not with the robots. We have to be the ones who are responsible for these things, and not just outsource that to machines.
I think also the pointed fact is that Delling, with the help of Vim, we know later on, launched this whole attack, killing all of these people, while in the same panel, denouncing war.
Yeah,
War.
calling it this foolish act of war, but the least we can do is do it ourselves.
It's very much a Gundam 00 mentality if I ever saw one. Stop fighting people! I'll fight you to stop it!
Sometimes you gotta. What's the joke? We're just like, chapter 1, how I defeated fascism with the power of love. Chapter 2, that didn't work. Now I'm using incredible violence.
I was going towards the guy who's about to jump off the roof to kill himself. Don't jump or I'll shoot! Win-win for me then, right?
And then of course we have our main lady of the Vanadis Institute.
Carter-Nabo.
Carter-Nabo, where we get her little scene of her last stand, and we can see the gun very clearly in her little drawer over there.
It's also
where
why...
before it wasn't clear in the anime.
No, we saw her draw it from the drawer. Also, the first panel of the manga, that might make you think that Carter was the narrator. Given everything we know about her, you would think it's her.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think obviously we both don't think it's her, right?
Right, she is not currently narrating her own death. Though in the anime, hers is the voiceover of the narration for it. I would say it's her perspective being said, but it might not be her literally reading.
Well, I mean, it's not her as the narrator, and we will find out later, I believe. If we don't agree on it, we don't agree on it.
It's all good. It's all good. We'll come back to that. We still got the pin in it.
I mean, we can. No, I'm saying we can disagree on her not being there. I don't think that's gonna be the fuck you moment, right?
But 32 to 33 is entirely her moment where she's explaining herself. We have to put on clothes to go outside. We also have to put on the gun to go out into space. Okay, see, that is such a distinct and clear little statement to explain like what's happening or her perspective. Like this should just be normal.
I really appreciate the third panel. One, the look on her face, but also the words. Because you'll understand via the look on the face how much she believes that these people are robbing from humanity.
Right, exactly. She is steadfast in her beliefs right up into the end. Despite having so little time, is an amazing character.
So I just had this sudden thought of, imagine this manga, right? But instead of, but it's the Amish. And that these people have come to take electricity away. Right? You don't understand what you're taking away. It's the future. The militant Amish coming to stop the technology from taking over.
Have you seen like some of the old propaganda from like 1920s or like earlier, where it's like, you know, the tangle of like electricity wires over the street, an electric wire spider monster, like this is the monster you invite into your home when you have electricity.
Sort of. I've seen that kind of stuff, but like for factory modernization, you know, where it's like a bunch of kids with like missing limbs and whatnot.
Right.
But yeah, no, sorry, just the tangent I had there of Thomas Edison self-propaganda.
Oh god. Page 34 though, we are back to the fight. We're finally launching what will become the Ariel, the LO3. And they're just kind of doing some
LFO3.
Yeah, LFO3. Of course, Suletta's mom is, Prospera, is already, very upset about the death that's happened off screen over here. And then of course we get our first little dialogue from baby Suletta. Or is it baby Eric? We'll find out.
Well, it's Eri.
Yeah, baby Eric.
It doesn't have to be either or for Eri. It's always Eri right here.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, we get their first little line dialogue, and the next page is entirely about them. Oh, hey, look, you know, it's the callback to Layer 33. That's impossible. Who could have done this? And Eri turns and goes, Mommy, did she wake up?
Now, do you have this open while we're doing this, Griff?
Which open?
You have the manga open while we're doing this, right? Okay. I want to draw your attention to something maybe slightly important.
Okay.
Middle panel, right? Zoom in right under the name.
Gun format, interconnect, Eric Samea.
Right?
Oh, that's their last name?
Yeah, we already know that.
Okay.
No.
It says, like, lower SU underneath that.
No, you can't. Ah, that's right, you wear glasses. So weirdly, I'm supposed to wear glasses, but I don't. No, it says layer 34.
Oh, so it does. I think I just zoomed too far in. No, I definitely see layer 34 now that you say it.
We're getting a callback from layer 33. We're on layer 34.
She's even more powerful than we could have ever imagined.
Well, the pointedly, the text bubble here, a callback from layer 33, that's impossible. All this time. Zoom in. We're on layer 34, lady.
It's going faster than she thinks.
Maybe Prosperous is not actually good at this.
But I do love the childlike innocence here of Eri, where she just has no idea what's going on, and that's going to become even more relevant in the next couple of panels.
Yes, as we come to the end of the prologue from the anime and start approaching the actual prologue of Vanadis Heart. By the way,
we have, like,
every
an entire
time
page dedicated to the perspective shot here, very lovely.
Every time I want to say Vanadis Hearts, it's for some reason it sounds like it'd be better with an S.
But yeah, 36 to 37, we just have, like, the great perspective shot. Everyone is like, it's a Gundam. Makes sense. And 38 to 39 is, so much action I can barely follow it. We know what's happening. They're launching the individual drones. They're blocking shots. Ares at the controls. Visually, exactly where things are going and what's happening. Just have, like, that last panel there. Everyone gets shot simultaneously and they're dead.
Alright, upper right, we have the guy shooting at Ariel. Panel below that, you see the bullets incoming as Ariel deploys the drones from its back. Next panel down, the bullets reach. Well, they're not bullets, they're energy weapons, because we know that bullets are actually illegal. The drones form the shield in front of it. Inside that, we see Ari pointing to the candles, as it turns out to be, on the screen. We approach back up to the upper left, where the shield turns back into the drones, the gunned bits, as they turn out to be called. And below that is where they deploy outwards, because then we go to the bottom cross section 3, right-hand side, drones fly off, and then middle section, shooting through the head of a Gundam, not a Gundam, sorry, mobile suit, and then the very bottom left, shooting through the torso of another one. So it's easy, very easy to parse. Specifically such because we watched the anime.
Right, specifically because we watched the anime, but just looking at this, if I were doing it without context, I'd just be staring at this for an hour going, yeah, this is neat.
Well, I think some of it's easy to read, specifically like upper left, the shield turns into the gun bits. I think once you figured that out, you can go back to the previous on the right, where they're all around the back, and then turns into a shield. So it's like, okay, if the shield turns into those, that's where the shield must have come from. I think you can parse it out with like a couple of minutes.
And 40 to 41, of course, we have the candle line. Isn't it so pretty, Mom? While everyone is dying, and of course, whole Eri has, of course, the big suck going on.
Well, no, again, Eri doesn't feel it. She's happy the whole time. Plus, not represented here, but Ares is blue where everyone else's is red. So, unknown.
Right, which we don't have that specific context here, but of course we know Ares perfect with it. She's the prodigy. She's at 34 without thinking about it.
Well, the thing is that Elin later on goes to say, it's not the writer that it's different. The Gundam is different. But even then, Elin goes red.
So then, of course, we're back to the action panels, 42 to 43.
Again, very easy to parse.
Things are happening. Again, not a lot of commentary to say other than, wow, Gundams are cool, right? But then, of course, 44, happy birthday to you.
As the narrator continues.
Right. We don't have, like, that same emotional impact or resonance here, because that's not really the focus here. We're just kind of getting the setting backdrop.
Yeah, that we have to nurture our hearts more so than, I guess, everything else that's been shown. Or, I guess, in spite of everything that's been shown.
Right. The key point, thing to learn going into space is that we have to all get along. Classic Gundam right there.
Also, the super development of North America.
No, that's a pretty classic light map right there.
No, the light map is about half, I want to say half as much today as it is right there.
You know what? That'd be fun to do a comparison of here. Let me actually pull
Okay, well, I mean, look on here. What city is that just north of Texas? Large a hub as... God, I don't even...
That'd be like Oklahoma City.
That Oklahoma City's not a third of
Actually,
New York City, though.
No, hold up. That might be Fort Worth there, actually. That is actually Texas. And the one to the
No,
bottom
no,
right
I'm talking about the giant dot, which is a sprawling has to be a cityscape to be that large of a light dot.
That's Fort Worth. The city is called Fort Worth.
Right. I don't think it's that big on a...
Which would mean that the one to the bottom right of it is Houston. But no, that is actually a currently present and accurate light map, I think.
Hey, you're right. I just looked that up. You're right.
Yeah, humanity has not been destroyed. We're not actually at 10 million, unlike the history books have told
I
us.
think I maybe have been spoiled by Judge Dredd. Because, you see the sprawling megacities, and how far they spread, and they're like little light maps in those comics.
Right. Those are huge. But yeah, 44 to 45, then 46 to 7, which is just the splash page.
Yep.
There's nothing to say here. This
Assumedly,
is the title, right?
It's I think it is because the text is the same. However, before in the advertisements there was a mobile suit back there instead of the horizon of Earth and the moon.
Okay, that makes sense. So moving along, we're getting towards the very end here. 48, 5 years later, so that'd be 106.
The story starts on Adstella 106. 5 years after the Vanadis Institute, we see some sort of rolling transport parked in front of a mountainside. Sorry, I've described this person as a girlish boy cooking sausage and eggs at a campsite just in front of it. And also, I think it's probably fair to say that rolling transport has a Gundam inside of it, you think?
That's 100% accurate. There's no other option.
I want to say that I also just put that together just now. Because I just kept describing it as a rolling transport. No thoughts given to the giant thing in the back.
And of course, they're making breakfast. Next panel, of course, we get like the eyes, which are very much the airy eyes, if you recall.
Right, the new character calls out for Dr. Wilda, which is where I put my my quotation here. Feels like this might be the narrator.
Damn, I want that breakfast, though. Can I get some of that?
The doctor doesn't respond, so we see the boy walk up to the cabin of the vehicle.
And, of course, the doctor is everyone's favorite layabout kind of professor style. 5 more minutes, here's my excuses for why I just can't wake up in time.
Right, our new character is disappointed to see Dr. Wilda in bed. Wilda shows that she isn't actually asleep, begging for 5 more minutes. Our character says that they are already hungry. Wilda tries to get them to start without them by explaining how their body doesn't produce auroxin, a neuropeptide that regulates arousal, wakefulness, and appetite. Be mindful of at least 2 of those things. Possibly all 3, actually, by the end.
But all
in
of
the
it is
morning,
just excuse.
in the morning, like kids do, it tries to use it as an excuse to get 5 more minutes again.
Exactly. In one page, they've completely won me over to both characters simultaneously. I love it.
All right, moving on to the next page. We go straight back to the outside where Wilda is up and has already eaten breakfast. Is apparently
Actually,
drinking. No, they've eaten already.
No, that whole breakfast there at the bottom, that's entirely still there. Those eggs are still completely solid.
Oh, see, now you're zooming in on shit that I didn't notice. Anyway, they're drinking coffee as well as commenting how great caffeine is with sparkles glistening around their head.
Yeah, that's a very anime frame right there.
The kid stares on silently, and when Wilda comments about how they aren't eating despite their claims of hunger before, the kid cries out that they will eat, just that their heart is pounding, or there's a pounding in their chest, and it feels strange.
There you go. The reaction to coffee when you're young and you have lots of energy, and it just makes you more anxious no matter what.
Actually, that's not the way that I read that. I read that there's some...
You actually illuminated me. You gave me the information I needed.
With which thing?
For what she's feeling right here. This is the comparison of how they take coffee.
See, that's not how I read it.
Yeah.
I read it as an attraction. That she's like, the sparkles are how the boy here is looking at Dr. Wilda. It's like, oh, she's so beautiful. And that's why pounding in the chest. And I feel strange because they're a young adolescent and they don't know how to deal with these feelings of attraction. Then leads us to our final page where Wilda, this is where I'm going to bring up the auroxin again. Wilda wrestles with the kid, demanding that they strip so they get more research data first, ending her statement with, and then, as if something else is going to happen, what is auroxin handle again? Oh, right, it's a neuropeptide that regulates arousal.
Thus begins the journey into nurture a boy's heart. It's like, okay.
Yeah, the kid cries out that breakfast needs to be eaten. Final panel shows the transport heading down a road towards the space elevator in the distance. Caption saying what you just said. Thus begins the journey to nurture a boy's heart.
Right. So all of the first few panels finally give us like a sense of where these characters are specifically, which kind of wraps it all back up. I think I thought something, but I was wrong. I thought that the young character here was actually reading a book, and thus they were the narrator. I believe I can now say, like, wait a second, that thought was wrong.
See, like I said, I thought we would disagree. I just didn't think it was... I didn't think you thought the boy, because all of these deep thoughts where mankind has come from and everything, I was either Cardo or Wilda, and then when they kept going, after Cardo died, it's like, clearly this has to be Wilda. Because before...
I don't think it could be either of them. Both of them are head empty.
Before I read out that it feels like might be the narrator, my original note was, could be Cardo or Wilda. And I feel like it has to be Wilda at this point.
So this is the conclusion of the prologue. The final bits of, like, new bits, things that we want to see, with just a couple of panels, I'd have to say, yeah, no, I want to see where Gundam Road Trip goes.
Well, assumedly they're heading to space.
Presumably they're heading to space.
Well, but wait, assumedly they are, based on the final panel. However, this was advertised as a Earth road, or an Earth-based thing in the things that I read before. So the fact that they're heading towards a space elevator doesn't actually mean they're going to the space elevator or that they're going to space.
But it's we have two focal characters. The whole point is that they're supposed to be bouncing off of each other, and they're going on a road trip together, and they clearly have a close relationship. Yeah, no, I'm totally down for this. And they got a giant robot in the back. I'm down for this. This is just the couple panels we have here. Very cute concept. I want to see it executed, which means we just gotta wait for a whole extra book now.
Well, it also probably means that if in the reading of this, we'll get more... Season 2 is like on our doorstep, so we might be getting it anyway. More insight into why Choo-Choo is the way that they are. If we see more of Earth, whether it's going through what people on Earth are having to deal with, we get that Earth House perspective that we've been lacking for the majority. I mean, we know what they're about from them.
Here.
We know what they're about from them, but to be able to see what's been going on.
So Theta, just based off of all of this, I've already said, like, I'm excited to read more of this, like, if it pops up. What about you?
Yeah, I'm super... Sorry, I just realized something really messed up happened. The cameras haven't been recording this whole time.
Oh, no. Ah, no, they won't have her glorious faces the entire time.
I'll have to figure something out. Maybe this will just be a voiceover narrative only. Just scrolling panels and everything.
For those of you missing my beautiful face, just imagine it in your mind.
No, I've already brought it back. No, it's probably when I looked up stuff. This is why I don't vector off of the plan.
But I think we've gotten all of our thoughts out about this. I say let's go ahead and wrap it up then. So this has still been Stone-Faced Reactions, everybody. Sorry I didn't get to see all of our faces, but you will next time. I'm Griffin, that's Theta, and we'll catch you next time. See you around. Hey everybody, thanks for watching another Stone-Faced Reactions. If you have an idea of another video we could go ahead and watch, go ahead and put it in the comments down below and we'll add it to the wheel. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let us know what you thought about this video and what parts you liked. And until then, we'll see you next time. Is this too goofy?